Um, I doubt that there is anyone in America who's surprised that Faux has decided not to carry the January 6th committee hearings. And why would they want to make their audience feel disoriented with a bunch of disturbing information that they've heard nothing about despite turning in to the regular favorite Faux network? It would be like getting a dispatch from another planet. Um, but it's very upsetting. And if there's one thing neither Republicans nor the propaganda channels are willing to do, it's make their angry. It's to make their sycophantic inbreds any angrier than they already are. Now we recall that Faux was the first network to call Arizona for Joe Biden, which sent the entire right wing into a frenzy. Now, it resulted in Faux finally giving up any pretense of being a real network at all, which they're really not. But according to a hoax, Donald Trump, Faux, and the Dangerous Distortion of Truth by CNN's Brian Stelter, Trump got the ball rolling by tweeting out his anger and going on Faux to complain, asking, "What's the biggest difference between this and 4 years ago?" Basically, Faux. It's much different now. Soon his rabid sycophantic inbreds were gathering outside the Phoenix, Arizona County Center yelling Faux sucks, which they've always have. And Facebook groups were forming, telling people to switch to Newsmax and One America News, which are two other fake news channels. And for a while they did just that. Now, back in December 2020, and for the first time, Newsmax actually destroyed Faux in the ratings. And Faux executives greeted this crisis as an existential threat, with one producer telling Stelter we're bleeding eyeballs and we're scared. And their ratings were nosediving 20, 25, 30%, even though the news cycle was nothing short of an epic. Now remember, this was the post-election period, and it was epic indeed because this is what Stelter had wrote. "Our audience hates this," one executive said in a moment of candor. "This was Biden as president-elect and Kamala Harris as vice president-elect, and they're fucking pissed," said a second source. Seating said another. Now the word apparently came from on high that they better figure out a way to get their audience back. Now, so Faux fired the election team that called the Arizona election results, and they retooled it immediately. And they started by giving the audience what they were demanding: false hope. They pushed the voter fraud conspiracies to the point that Faux even became the subject of a lot of defamation lawsuits by the voting machine companies, and then the network went after anyone who didn't go along with their program. Now, Rupert Murdoch himself was said to be guiding decisions to remove anyone who wasn't deemed hysterical and shrill enough to entice the disappointed sycophantic inbred Trumpers back into the fold, and they marginalizing the few more or less straight news people and giving carte blanche to their opinion personalities to follow their bliss into the right-wing fever swamps. The result of this is Tucker Carlson and his White Power Hour. Now, Media Matters did a deep dive a while back into how Faux ended up covering the post-election period. Now, Faux and associates did everything they could to support Trump's autocratic maneuvers. In the 2 weeks, in the 2 weeks after media outlets called the race for Biden, Faux personalities questioned the results of the election or pushed conspiracy theories about it nearly 800 different times, if not more. And they put the credibility of the network behind deranged lies about fraud plucked from the internet fever swamps, beaming batshit fantasies out to a huge national audience, and it worked. Polls following the election showed the majority of Republicans believed that the election was stolen from Trump, when in reality it was not. Now, the hosts, contributors, and guests went further than simply lying to their viewers, and they pushed for action. They attacked Republican state officials for being insufficiently committed to Trump's scheme. They called for the arrest of election workers, suggested that Republican state legislators in states that Trump lost should appoint a clean slate of electors that lick his nuts. They promoted fake electoral Trump slates for supposedly keeping Trump's legal options open, and they suggested a do-over election as the only remedy, and it called for congressional investigations. They endorsed a lawsuit by Republican state attorneys generals asking the Supreme Court to throw out the results in 4 states that Biden had won, and they urged Republican governors not to certify unfavorable results, and they denounced Republican members of Congress for destroying the Constitution by voting to count the electoral votes. Now, as for the January 6th committee, the Philip Bump of the Washington Post compiled a comparison of the 3 cable networks' coverage and found that Faux covered January 6th itself far less than the others, and the committee even less. Now, he wrote that CNN has mentioned the committee more than 4 times as often as has Faux on average. Now, MSNBC has mentioned it 5 times as much on average, but there is almost always a blackout on the stories regarding the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys who have been indicted on charges of seditious conspiracy. Now, basically, faux told its viewers and that they're almost completely in the dark about. So basically, the faux viewers are basically completely in the dark about the insurrection, the Klan insurrection that they incited, or the revelations since then, including the work of the Department of Justice and the January 6th Committee, and not to mention the many stories reported in the media about the coup itself. Now they know almost nothing about former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows' involvement in every aspect of the attempts to overturn the election, and they certainly don't know that the mob was storming the Capitol. Their favorite Trump-loving foe celebrities were bombarding the White House with texts begging them to get Trump to call up the rioters, which he did not right away anyway. Now, Faux intends to keep it that way. They announced on Tuesday that they will have their news anchors follow the hearings on Faux, which only gets a fraction of the audience of Faux during that time period. So their marquee talent can do their usual shows, and one of them even said the quiet part out loud. Their audience doesn't want to hear any news that makes them unhappy, so Faux will keep giving them what they want, owning the Democrats, which they failed to do, Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head and the White Nationalists. As you can see, they even got the beloved charismatic superstar Stephen Miller on as a regular these days. If the news was a person, it would sue Faux for fraud and they would win. So basically, Faux has no plans to cover the January 6th Klan riot hearings that they're going to be doing, and basically they're trying to keep their sycophantic inbreeding viewers in the dark. That's their whole plan all along. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RVW King. You can also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.